Gavin Newsom is on a ride. And all week I've been talking here and on two-way about how Gavin Newsom is now the front runner for the Democratic nomination. And people's reaction to that has been, I shouldn't say I'm surprised or shocked, but disappointing to me, because so many of you consume political media to get angry or to argue with me when I'm trying to tell you some facts. I think I've got a pretty good perspective on what is important about why Gavin Newsom is doing well. And so I'm going to ask you, come with me here, listen, use this as an opportunity to maybe learn if you think I'm right. I don't mind argument, but why should we care that Gavin Newsom is now, in my view, and the view of Patty Solis-Doyle, who was here with us on the last episode, and so many other folks I know, think Gavin Newsom is now alone in tier one, that he is having easily the best summer of any Democrat who might run for president in 28. So there's three ways to look at this that I think are important. And if you care about America, not just the inside game of politics, but policy and where we are as a country. So first of all, it matters for 2028. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, who's having this incredible moment, he's the front runner now. And so other people who want to join him in the first tier, other people who'd like to be strong candidates, they need to see what he's doing and see if they can check it. Second, it speaks to the question, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, and you're interested in the topic of, will Donald Trump have serious opposition to what he's trying to do as a matter of policy and politics now in 2025 in the midterms, and then policy between now and the next presidential? We can learn from what Gavin Newsom is doing about how Democrats and others who want to oppose the president can effectively do that. Doesn't mean everything Gavin Newsom is doing is working. In fact, I'm skeptical about what he's doing on redistricting and whether it will work. But again, the prism of Gavin Newsom can tell us some stuff about what works in opposing Donald Trump. And then finally, the issue of leadership in the age of technology, at a time when how you effectively lead in business, in your community, in politics and government and presidential campaigns, how do you use technology to empower yourself to lead? What are the elements of that? So as you listen to what I'm saying here today, don't hate, don't be a bad hate, take it as a learning opportunity. Use it as an opportunity to understand. You could be the biggest Gavin Newsom critic in America. And I'm telling you, you're overstating the extent to which he's a bad guy or a bad governor. I'm not saying he's the best governor of all time. You'll hear me talk about that. But use this as an opportunity not to tweet at me or email me and say, how can you say Gavin Newsom's so great? Or how can you say he's the front runner? Take a breath and listen. And if you're interested in America, use this as an opportunity to understand. I say to people in blue America all the time, if you don't agree with Donald Trump and you really dislike him, understand that half the country thinks he should be president. They voted for him and they much prefer him to what blues have on offer. And you should listen. And I'll say to people in red America, try to figure out why Gavin Newsom's doing well. Don't deny he's doing well because he is. Try to work with me here to understand why is he doing well. I study it. I'm interested in it as a matter of politics, but it tells you something about America. It tells you something about leadership. So earlier this year, when President Trump was riding high in his first few weeks in the administration and in governance, Steve Elmendorf, who's one of the smartest Democratic strategists I know, and believe me, no fan of Donald Trump, posited a theory that I think was spot on about Donald Trump, and I think it tells us a lot about why Gavin Newsom is doing well now. Steve talked about the 3 A's: action, attention, authenticity. Action. Do a lot of stuff, right? Do stuff. Don't just sit around having the paralysis of analysis. Don't fail to act when your constituents and your stakeholders are demanding action. Do stuff. Donald Trump has led that from the transition through this moment, does a lot of stuff. Second is get attention. We know we live in an competitive attention situation. People can read about politics. They can watch Netflix. They can play video games. They can do all sorts of things. And so how do you get attention? And that, of course, relates to action. But action's not enough. You need the talent to use social media, television, other devices, other platforms to get attention. And then the third A is authenticity. People respond well to authenticity. And one of the things about Gavin Newsom that's happening right now, even though his critics say this is phony, including his critics in the Trump White House, This is authentic Gavin Newsom. Trust me. So what is he doing? Why has he been on such a powerful run? He had a trip to South Carolina very well, but he has been doing stuff of late on social media, particularly on X, that has everybody talking. He's gotten tons of coverage in the traditional media about it. Democrats, strategists, and other politicians who don't want to run for president are impressed by what he's doing. And the strategy has involved going up against the White House, particularly. There's some other targets, which we'll talk about. And he's taken to using Donald Trump's style on social media, all caps, mocking language, humor, ending his posts often by saying, "Thank you for your attention to this matter," using AI to create images like of him on Mount Rushmore. All these things are meant to get attention and to demonstrate a fighting spirit, because so many Democrats have been frustrated for a decade at Donald Trump's social media posts. And Gavin Newsom is basically saying, I'm mocking Donald Trump, I'm calling him out, and I'm getting the message across. And believe me, the White House has noted. Here's Gavin Newsom in a local TV interview a couple of days ago explaining this new social media strategy. S1, please.
So yes, I've changed. The facts have changed. We need to change, and we need to stand up to this authoritarian. We need to stand up at this moment. It is foundational. Again, it is not about Republican versus Democrat. This guy is an invasive species. He's completely different. I respect the Republican Party. I'm married in a Republican family. I have deep love and respect for people I disagree with. He is something altogether different, and he is unmoored. There is no constraints. So yes, we're going to punch back. And yes, we're going to punch back with the full weight of the fourth largest economy in the world, the size of 21 state population combined, and with the consent of the people that endow the power to government. We will do the right thing, and we will push back, and we'll succeed this November.
So there's intensity, there's using the power of the state, including going to court on some occasions, but there's also this humor, right? There are these posts that are getting so much attention. So as I said, the White House has noticed. Here's a tweet from Stephen Chung, who's a top communications advisor to President Trump in the White House. Stephen's tweet is one of many reactions that there's been from Trump folks to Gavin Newsom's tweet. And again, it's all caps. It's making little jokes about Donald Trump, nicknames, etc. Stephen Chung tweets, after an assassinated attempt on POTUS just over a year ago, Gavin Newsom, in an absolutely unhinged post, appears to be calling for something even worse. What a vile piece of shit, GFY. So, you know, I don't always assume when people react that they're feeling the heat, but there's a lot of reaction, and that's what Democrats want to see. Part of why Democrats are so enthusiastic about what Gavin Newsom is doing is because he is taking it to the president. He's being aggressive. He's not just sitting back. And that fight is what Democrats want. They don't feel Joe Biden did it enough or Kamala Harris did it enough. So Wednesday night, J.D. Vance on Fox, Laura Ingraham, got asked about Gavin Newsom. Here's how he responded, S2.
Sounding like crazy people. That really is all it is. I mean, this idea that Gavin Newsom is somehow going to mimic Donald Trump's style, I think that ignores the fundamental genius of President Trump's political success, which is that he's authentic. He just is who he is. You've got to be yourself. You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated. Don't be a crazy person. Be authentic. If the Democrats did that, they'd do a hell of a lot better. But
now, this is a common refrain from the folks at the White House and others supporters of the president. This isn't real. This is just gimmicky. I'm telling you, it's not true. Here's how Gavin Newsom and his team responded to the vice president, A2, on Twitter to that interview. He said he almost got it. Just like a little jibe. And anyone who's talked to Gavin Newsom, as I have over the years, knows that this mentality, this fight, this effort to stand up, to not let the president and his administration get away with what Democrats want to stop, that's authentic. And part of why some Democrats are reacting favorably to it is they know it's authentic, despite what the Trump folks are saying. Now, as I mentioned, there are other targets. People on Fox News have been saying about Gavin Newsom's new social media persona, well, this is fake. This is not dignified. and this won't work because it's not dignified. If you want to be president, you got to be dignified. Of course, what Gavin Newsom, a lot of Democrats say, talk about dignity, talk about social media. What has Donald Trump been doing for 10 years? Here's Newsom with a bunch of liberal influencers talking about his indignity at being accused of being undignified. This is S3, please.
No, I mean, even poor Kid Rock. These guys, they've become a little precious, haven't they? These folks at Fox. They're like, oh, this is so unbecoming of a governor. Oh. And meanwhile, they sit there reading his tweets every single day. Are they that tonally out of touch? I mean, it's jaw-dropping how precious and concerned New York Post has gotten all of a sudden. How the Wall Street Journal head board is like, oh, no, we can't have this. I mean, what? I hope we're exposing it all. I hope we're exposing it all, and I hope we're entertaining some people.
So talked about entertaining. That's how you get attention in the attention economy. And you heard laughter there. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw 4 liberal influencers. They're enjoying it. On the right, they have the phrase, own the libs. What Gavin Newsom is doing, in effect, is owning the right. And maybe the people on the right genuinely don't feel owned. Maybe the White House and J.D. Vance feel like this is an ineffective joke. But Gavin Newsom is inspiring a lot of people on the left, saying, we don't have to sit back and take some of the things that the right, Donald Trump specifically, have done that have been negative. Now, here's another battle he's engaged in. And this 24/7 battle, not letting any slight go by. You won't see that from the governor of Illinois or the governor of Pennsylvania or the governor of Michigan or the governor of Kentucky. They'll engage occasionally. And I don't know how long the team Newsom will keep this up. But if you want attention, you got to be in the fight every day. So Bed Bath & Beyond, the big retail company, who's gone through a bankruptcy, put out a statement saying they can't do business in California anymore because of all the regulation, all the challenges that they say exist in California. So Gavin Newsom saw that press release, and rather than doing what a governor normally would do, probably privately call the CEO and say, we gotta work this out. I want the jobs in our state. Gavin Newsom went on Twitter, A3, and again, it's Gavin Newsom and his team, and they responded to the CEO saying, the chairman saying rather, announced not going to open up any new retail stores in California because of high taxes, high fees, and forced unsustainable wages. Gavin Newsom responded, the company that already went bankrupt and closed every store across the country 2 years ago? Okay. Sarcasm and taking on a big employer. Here is how that same chairman responded to Gavin Newsom's jibe on Fox. This is S4, please.
Well, I think the thing that was really surprising to me is that I tried to articulate in a non-aggressive way exactly why our company wasn't going to reinvest capital in California. And what I found out this afternoon is that Governor Newsom has enough time to respond to a tweet as opposed to a private DM or having somebody reach out to remind everybody in America that in 2023, before we bought the intellectual property, that the company went out of business.
So here's the CEO saying, yeah, why isn't he doing the standard thing, right? Here's a question for you. You got to think about this. Is the continued divide between the Trump administration and the Federal Reserve putting us all potentially behind the curve again? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time? Or are we all going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown? And what would that mean for your savings? Consider then diversifying with gold through the folks at Birch Gold Group. For decades now, gold has been viewed as a safe haven whenever there's economic stagnation, global uncertainty, or high inflation. Birch Gold makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings right into gold. If you've got an IRA or an old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Another option, buy some gold to keep in your safe. But first, before you make that choice, get some education. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit about gold. Just text the word NEXT to the number 989898. Again, text the word NEXT to 989898. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. That way, if the Federal Reserve can't stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can stay ahead of the curve for yourself.